The Draconian Fleet arrived without sound, without light, and without warning. It appeared above Earth, like a dark shadow covering the stars. Massive ships filled the sky, stretching from one horizon to the other. Satellites stopped sending signals. Space stations went silent. Every screen on Earth showed the same image: unknown ships, ancient symbols, and a power far beyond human technology. The world stopped breathing. For centuries, the galaxy knew the name Draconian with fear. Wherever their fleet traveled, worlds surrendered or burned. They were not conquerors for land. They were erasers of resistance. Entire civilizations vanished after ignoring their arrival. When the Draconian Fleet entered Earth's orbit, many alien races watched from far away. Some remembered old warnings. Others believed humans would fall in hours. No one expected Earth to survive a single day. Inside the lead Draconian command ship, the Supreme Commander observed Earth in silence. Humans looked small from space. Their cities glowed softly. No planetary shields were visible. No defense fleets waited in orbit. No powerful weapons charged. The commander felt no excitement, only boredom. Earth looked like every weak world before it. A message was prepared, short and cold. This planet is now under Draconian control. Surrender in 24 Earth hours. Resistance is useless. The signal was sent to every nation, every device, every human ear. On Earth, panic spread fast. Governments called emergency meetings. Military leaders argued. News channels repeated the same images again and again. People prayed, screamed, and ran. Social networks collapsed under fear. Everyone waited for orders, for hope, for a miracle. But something strange happened. After the message was received, Earth did not respond. No threats were sent. No surrender message followed. No weapons fired into space. The planet remained silent. The Draconian commanders noticed this quickly. Silence was unusual. Weak worlds usually begged. Strong worlds threatened. Earth did neither. The Supreme Commander ordered scans. Energy readings showed nothing special. Human weapons were old. Their ships were few. Their technology was divided by nations. Everything confirmed the same result: Earth was defenseless. The silence was explained as fear. The commander smiled, showing sharp teeth. Fear always came before collapse. Hours passed. Draconian ships moved closer. Smaller vessels descended into the upper atmosphere. Still no response. Human cities continued their daily motion. Lights stayed on. Planes landed. People walked the streets. It was as if the sky above them was empty. This behavior confused the lower officers. One of them spoke carefully. "Commander, humans are not acting like a species about to be conquered." The commander dismissed the concern. "Fear takes many forms," he replied. Across the galaxy, observers grew uneasy. Ancient records spoke of strange worlds that never answered threats. Worlds that looked weak, but hid something unseen. These records were old, unclear, and often ignored. Younger races laughed at them. They believed legends were made by failed explorers. Still, some watched Earth with concern. The Draconian Fleet was too powerful to fail. Yet the silence from Earth felt wrong. Back on the command ship, a new alert appeared. One scouting vessel had stopped transmitting. No explosion. No distress call. Just silence. The commander frowned. Ships failed sometimes. He ordered another vessel to investigate. That ship also went silent minutes later. Now the bridge was quiet. Draconians were not used to losing ships without battle. Sensors showed nothing. No weapons fire. No debris. The ships were simply gone. The commander felt the first touch of doubt. He ordered a full systems check. All Draconian technology worked perfectly. Weapons were ready. Shields were strong. Yet something invisible surrounded Earth. Something their instruments could not measure. Below, the planet remained calm. Humans still did not speak. Still did not fight. Still did not beg. The commander decided to act. Ground forces would land in major cities and force surrender directly. Troop ships moved toward Earth. As they entered the atmosphere, communication delays appeared. Signals bent, twisted, and weakened. Soldiers reported strange feelings. Time felt slow. Sounds felt distant. Before landing confirmation could be received, The troop ships vanished from the network. One by one, they disappeared like shadows swallowed by light. For the first time in Draconian history, fear entered the command bridge. Not panic, but confusion. The Supreme Commander stared at Earth, no longer smiling. This planet was not reacting like prey. It was waiting. The silence was not weakness. It was control. And somewhere on Earth, unseen and untouched, humans were watching the fleet that believed it could not be stopped. The disappearance of the first Draconian ships did not reach the galaxy at once. At first, it looked like a simple delay. Draconian technology was powerful, and minor signal loss was common near unstable planets. Still, some observers noticed the pattern. Ships entered Earth space and never sent data again. No battle images. No damage reports. Only silence. The galaxy had seen destruction before, but this was different. Destruction always left echoes. Earth left nothing. In distant systems, elder races opened sealed archives. These were records rarely shared, filled with warnings written in old languages. Many of them mentioned a quiet world on the edge of the galaxy. A world that never chased power, never joined empires, and never answered threats. The name of the world changed across time, but the location matched Earth. The records did not describe great weapons or massive fleets. They spoke only of disappearance. Fleets went in. Fleets did not return. Because there was no proof, these stories became myths. The Draconian High Council ignored such whispers. They trusted strength, not legends. Their fleet was the largest ever assembled. Losing a few scouting ships meant nothing. The Supreme Commander sent a short update to the Council. Minor resistance detected. Ground operation in progress. The message sounded calm, controlled, and final. The Council accepted it without question. Draconians had never been wrong before. On Earth, humans watched quietly. Underground centers monitored space and atmosphere. No public announcements were made. No global speech was given. World leaders followed plans written decades earlier. These plans were never shared with the public and were never placed in digital systems. They existed on paper, in secure rooms, guarded by people trained to stay silent. Humanity had learned long ago that loud defense attracted attention. Quiet defense survived. As more Draconian ships moved closer, the galaxy waited for impact. Normally, this was the moment when cities burned and oceans boiled. But Earth remained unchanged. Storms followed their normal paths. Day and night cycles continued. Even animals showed no signs of panic. To outside eyes, Earth looked unaware of its own invasion. That calm began to disturb even the most confident observers. Inside the Draconian Fleet, reports became difficult to ignore. Navigation systems showed small errors near Earth. Time measurements failed to match standard flow. Some ships experienced short memory gaps in their logs. Crew members reported headaches and disorientation. These effects vanished when ships moved farther from the planet. The data made no sense. Earth was not attacking, yet it was affecting everything. The Supreme Commander ordered long-range scans again. The results were the same. No hidden weapons. No energy buildup. No signs of advanced shields. Earth appeared technologically weak. This contradiction angered the commander. Power always left marks. Earth left none. He accused his officers of incompetence and demanded faster action. More ships were sent inward. More troops were prepared. Then a message escaped Earth space. It was not human. It was Draconian. Broken, distorted, and incomplete. The signal repeated a few words before collapsing into noise. Do not advance. Something is wrong. The galaxy froze. That sentence alone caused fear. Draconians did not warn. They commanded. The message spread quickly before it could be blocked. The High Council tried to respond, but the Draconian Fleet did not answer. Command signals were delayed. Orders returned corrupted. The Council realized something unthinkable was happening. The fleet was still visible in space, but it was no longer fully connected. Like a body losing contact with its brain. Panic was still forbidden among Draconians, but tension filled every chamber. Other alien civilizations reacted fast. Some closed their borders. Some destroyed old star maps pointing toward Earth. A few sent long-range probes to observe from a safe distance. None moved closer. The memory of vanished explorers returned with terrifying clarity. Earth was not new. Earth was old, and it had been waiting for someone strong enough to ignore the warnings. Back in Earth's orbit, the Supreme Commander stood before the viewing screen. The planet below looked peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green land. A world that should have been screaming under attack. Instead, it remained silent. The commander finally understood the mistake. The Draconian Fleet had assumed silence meant fear. But fear was loud. Earth's silence was something else. The commander ordered a full retreat. The command was sent to every ship. Some responded. Many did not. Engines failed to engage. Coordinates drifted. Space itself seemed unwilling to let them go. One by one, Draconian ships began to vanish from sensors, not in fire, but in absence. The galaxy watched in horror as the strongest fleet ever assembled slowly disappeared around a quiet blue world. As the Draconian Fleet continued to vanish, confusion replaced confidence inside the remaining command ships. The Supreme Commander demanded answers, but none came. Systems that had never failed now showed errors without cause. Communication lines opened and closed on their own. Maps shifted slightly, as if space itself refused to stay still. The fleet was still powerful, yet powerless at the same time. Earth remained below, unchanged, watching in silence. Inside one of the surviving command vessels, officers gathered around fading holograms. Reports came in fragments. Ships disappeared at different distances, some near orbit, others farther out. There was no pattern, no visible weapon, no energy surge. The data showed only one truth. The closer the ships moved to Earth, the weaker they became. This made no sense to Draconian science. Power was supposed to dominate space, not be erased by it. Ground forces that had landed earlier were completely lost. No signals, no emergency beacons, no remains detected. Cities below showed no damage. Roads were clear. Buildings stood untouched. Human life continued as normal. From orbit, the Draconians could see traffic, lights, and movement. It looked like the ground troops had never existed. This was more terrifying than open battle. War at least had rules. This had none. The Supreme Commander ordered a psychological strike. A new message was sent toward Earth, stronger and more aggressive. You are hiding. Reveal your defenses or face total destruction. The message reached every corner of the planet. Once again, Earth did not answer. No speeches, no threats, no signal at all. The silence felt heavier than any weapon. Within the fleet, fear began to grow. Draconian soldiers were trained to face death, but not uncertainty. Some crews reported strange dreams while awake. They saw memories that were not their own. Endless oceans, burning skies, extinction events repeating again and again. Medical scans showed nothing wrong. Yet the experiences were real. The planet below seemed to touch their minds without permission. Far across the galaxy, observers began to change their tone. This was no longer a possible failure. It was a confirmed disaster. Entire Draconian divisions were gone. Trade routes near Earth collapsed. No ship dared to approach. Ancient races recognized the signs from forgotten eras. Earth was not a world of war. It was a world of endurance. A species that survived by adaptation, patience, and memory. On Earth, deep beneath the surface, human monitors tracked every Draconian movement. No faces showed fear. No voices were raised. Humanity had learned long ago that survival did not require shouting. Their defenses did not destroy ships. They removed threats from relevance. The goal was not victory. It was balance. The Draconian Fleet was simply another test. As the Supreme Commander realized the truth, anger turned into desperation. He ordered a final advance toward the planet, believing proximity might reveal the hidden mechanism. Remaining ships moved inward together, hoping unity would protect them. For a moment, nothing happened. Then time slowed. Stars stretched. Signals blurred. One by one, ships began to lose definition, like images fading from memory. The commander felt the ship grow cold. Power readings dropped to zero, yet systems did not shut down. It was as if the universe itself was holding them in place. The viewing screen showed Earth growing larger, but unreachable. No explosions. No resistance. Only a quiet pressure, steady and unavoidable. One final transmission escaped the fleet, barely reaching the outer systems. The voice was not commanding anymore. It was broken. Earth is not a target. It is a boundary. The message ended there. From the galaxy's edge, civilizations watched the last Draconian ship disappear. No wreckage remained. No energy wave followed. The strongest armada ever known had been erased without a battle. And Earth, the silent world, continued to turn unchanged. The universe had learned something that day. Power was not always loud. Sometimes it waited, unseen, until arrogance stepped too close. With the Draconian Fleet gone, the galaxy struggled to understand what had truly happened. Sensors showed empty space, where thousands of ships once ruled. No debris fields. No radiation scars. No signs of conflict. To many, it felt like history had been edited, as if the fleet had never existed. Fear spread quietly from system to system. If a power like the Draconians could vanish, then no empire was truly safe. On Earth, nothing changed on the surface. Cities continued their routines. Children went to school. Markets opened and closed. The sky returned to its normal blue. Most humans never knew how close their world had come to destruction. That was by design. Humanity had learned that survival was strongest when life remained normal. Panic weakened defenses. Calm strengthened them. Deep underground, human councils met in silence. These were not politicians seeking praise. They were guardians of long memory. Their rooms were built far from satellites and networks. Paper maps covered the walls. Symbols older than modern nations marked hidden structures across the planet. Earth's true defense had never been a single weapon. It was a system built slowly, layer by layer, across centuries. Long ago, humanity had realized a painful truth. The universe was not empty and not kind. Every advanced species followed the same path. Expansion, domination, and collapse. Humans chose a different way. They hid their strength behind division, conflict, and noise. To outsiders, Earth looked unstable and weak. That image was carefully protected. While empires rose and fell, Earth watched, learned, and prepared. The defense that stopped the Draconian Fleet was not designed to destroy. It was designed to remove danger without leaving scars. It bent space, time, and perception just enough to make hostile forces lose cohesion. Ships did not explode. They lost connection to reality itself. To the universe, they simply stopped mattering. This method left no evidence, no reason for revenge, and no clear enemy to fight. Some human scientists questioned the morality of such power. The councils answered with history. Every invasion Earth stopped without blood saved countless lives. The Draconians would have erased the planet without hesitation. Humanity chose silence over war, restraint over glory, survival over pride. This choice had been made long before the fleet arrived. Across the galaxy, ancient races finally spoke. They shared fragments of old knowledge, confirming what they had long suspected. Earth was a boundary world, a place where expansion ended, a species that refused to rule others, yet refused to be ruled. These races had once tested Earth and quietly retreated. They never warned others, because no one listened to whispers. New galactic laws were written without meetings or votes. Star maps marked Earth's region as restricted. Trade routes curved away from its system. Exploration guilds erased it from popular charts. Not out of hatred, but respect. Earth was not a threat. It was a reminder. On Earth, the councils ordered the defenses to return to passive state. Energy flows softened. Space returned to normal behavior. The planet became just another quiet world again. Humanity did not celebrate. There were no speeches, no monuments. Victory was not something to announce. It was something to endure. Far away, young civilizations studied the disappearance of the Draconian Fleet. They searched for weapons, strategies, and enemies. They found none. Only a pattern. Those who attacked Earth vanished. Those who ignored it survived. The lesson was simple, yet terrifying. Earth continued to turn in silence. carrying a species that had mastered patience. Humanity did not need to conquer the stars to matter. It only needed to protect its home. And in doing so, it became something far more powerful than an empire. The galaxy could not let the mystery rest. After the Draconian Fleet vanished, scholars, strategists, and historians searched for answers. They studied ancient data, broken signals, and half-erased records. Slowly, a pattern began to form, not of sudden power, but of long survival. Earth had not become strong overnight. It had been strong for a very long time. Human history was filled with disasters. Plagues, wars, climate collapse, and near-extinction events shaped the species. Each time, humanity adapted instead of breaking. While other civilizations chased perfect order, humans learned to live inside chaos. This skill became their greatest shield. They learned to rebuild quietly, to hide strength behind weakness, and to prepare for threats long before those threats appeared. Long before humanity reached the stars, it realized space was watching. Strange signals passed through the solar system. Probes vanished near Earth's orbit. Instead of responding, humans observed. They understood that attention invited danger, so they created a rule that guided all future survival plans. Never show your true limits. Never answer the first threat. Let the universe underestimate you. The first hidden defenses were simple. Observation networks that could not be detected. Systems that studied unknown physics without creating visible energy. Over centuries, these defenses evolved. They did not rely on firepower. They relied on control. Control of space, of time flow, and of information. Humanity learned that if an enemy could not act, it did not need to be destroyed. When the Draconian Fleet arrived, these systems were already awake. There was no emergency activation, no last-minute decision. Everything followed protocols written generations earlier. Earth did not panic, because panic had been removed from the process long ago. Each human leader knew their role, and also knew when to remain silent. The disappearance of the fleet was not an act of anger. It was the result of containment. Draconian ships were caught in zones where normal reality could not fully exist. Their technology, built on domination and force, could not adapt. Human systems did not fight them. They simply let the fleet exhaust itself against laws it could not break. Some wondered why Earth did not take advantage of this power. Why not expand, control, or rule? The answer lay in memory. Humanity remembered what empires became. It remembered the cost of domination. Every attempt to rule others ended in collapse or cruelty. Earth chose a different future. Survival without conquest. Strength without chains. Across the galaxy, younger species slowly accepted the truth. Earth was not a mystery weapon. It was a philosophy made real. A civilization that valued restraint more than victory. That idea was more frightening than any fleet. You could not fight an enemy that refused to play the game. On Earth, life remained ordinary. The people did not know they lived on a boundary world. They argued, dreamed, and struggled as always. That normal life was the final layer of defense. A world that looked alive and imperfect did not look like a fortress. The councils archived the Draconian event under a simple title. Another prevented extinction. No names were listed. No heroes were recorded. Humanity did not need legends. It needed continuity. In the deep records of the galaxy, a new warning was quietly added. Not a threat, not a demand, just a fact. Earth survives. Those who challenge it do not. And the universe, slowly and carefully, learned to listen. Fear does not spread like fire. It spreads like silence. After the truth about the Draconian Fleet began to surface, the galaxy changed in small, careful ways. No empire announced panic. No council admitted weakness. Yet star lanes grew quiet. Patrols doubled. Exploration slowed. Every civilization understood the same unspoken rule. If the Draconians could disappear, then power alone was no longer protection. Trade guilds rerouted ships far from Earth's region. Not because Earth threatened them, but because uncertainty was more dangerous than war. Merchants preferred known risks. Earth was an unknown that swallowed fleets without leaving a mark. Even rumors of its presence altered galactic behavior. Borders hardened. Alliances were tested. Ancient races, those older than recorded empires, began to speak again. They shared stories once hidden behind myth. They described early encounters with Earth system, long before humanity built satellites or radios. Ships lost time. Crews experienced memory gaps. Navigators reported feeling watched without seeing anything. These races had chosen to withdraw, not out of fear, but wisdom. They understood that Earth defended itself in ways that could not be challenged directly. Younger civilizations struggled with the lesson. Many had built their identity on expansion. Their fleets were symbols of pride. The Draconian failure forced them to question everything. Some attempted to study Earth from afar. Their probes returned empty data or never returned at all. Others destroyed their own records, fearing that even curiosity might be seen as a threat. Within the galactic councils, debates turned quiet and cautious. Discussions once filled with threats and dominance now focused on survival and balance. Earth was never mentioned by name in official records. Instead, it was referred to as a restricted zone or a natural boundary. Everyone knew what that meant. Meanwhile, humanity remained absent from all galactic affairs. Earth sent no message, no explanation, no demand. This absence was unsettling. Victors usually spoke. Earth did not. It acted like a force of nature, not a political power. You did not negotiate with gravity. You learned to live with it. Some civilizations tried to challenge this idea. A minor warlord state, desperate for relevance, announced plans to investigate Earth system. Their fleet never reached its destination. Navigation errors sent them into empty space. Supplies failed. Mutiny followed. The survivors limped home, broken and silent. No one needed further proof. Fear deepened into respect. Galactic academies rewrote strategy texts. New doctrines formed. Loud power was no longer the ultimate goal. Adaptation and restraint gained value. Humanity, without ever joining the galactic stage, had reshaped it. On Earth, the changes were invisible. The planet remained focused on its own future. Human scientists refined defensive systems, not to increase power, but to reduce strain. The goal was always stability. The less the system had to act, the better. In hidden archives beneath Earth's surface, a long-term projection was updated. The universe would remain unstable for millions of years. New species would rise. Some would threaten Earth. Most would never know it existed. That was acceptable. Humanity did not seek peace through dominance. It sought survival through patience. Across the galaxy, a quiet agreement formed without signatures. Do not approach Earth. Do not provoke it. Let it remain what it chooses to be. A silent world. A living boundary. And so fear settled into a new shape. Not terror, but caution. Not hatred, but distance. The universe adjusted its behavior around one small blue planet that never raised its voice, yet never needed to. The message arrived long after the Draconian Fleet was gone. It did not travel through normal channels. It did not follow known communication paths. It appeared in fragments across the outer systems, decoded only by chance. At first, no one believed it was real. Draconian signals were known for clarity and strength. This one was broken, distorted, and filled with gaps, as if reality itself had tried to erase it. When scholars finally pieced it together, fear returned. The message was a distress call, not meant for enemies, but for anyone listening. The words were simple, stripped of pride and command. Humans are not weak. They are patient. That single sentence shook the galaxy more than the fleet's disappearance. The message continued in fragments. It spoke of systems failing without damage, of ships losing purpose, not power, of time behaving like a shifting surface instead of a line. Draconian weapons fired and achieved nothing, not because they were blocked, but because there was nothing to strike. The enemy was not a fleet. It was an environment that refused violence. One section of the message described the humans themselves. Draconian ground units had observed them before contact was lost. Humans did not gather in panic. They did not worship the sky. They continued their lives. This behavior confused the soldiers. A species facing extinction should have shown fear. Humans showed routine. That routine was the real defense. The final fragments were the most disturbing. They suggested that Earth did not react to the invasion. It had anticipated it. The message described ancient layers of preparation, built over time scales longer than the Draconian Empire itself. Humanity had watched the galaxy rise and fall without revealing its awareness. When the full message was shared among the elder races, silence followed. These were beings who had seen stars born and die. Even they had underestimated Earth. They realized now that humanity had chosen invisibility as its greatest weapon. Not hiding, but blending. Not silence from fear, but silence from confidence. Across the galaxy, reactions varied. Some civilizations felt relief. Earth was not an enemy seeking conquest. Others felt dread. A power that refused to rule could not be controlled. You could not bargain with patience. You could not threaten it into action. Young species asked why Earth never warned the Draconians. Why it allowed the fleet to approach. The elders answered with another truth. Warnings only work on those willing to listen. The Draconians believed only in force. Earth answered in a language they could not ignore. On Earth, the councils detected the messages spread, but did nothing. The truth leaking into the galaxy was unavoidable. The goal was never secrecy forever. It was timing. Now the universe was ready to understand, even if it did not like the lesson. Human archives recorded the event under a new classification, confirmed boundary recognition. It meant the galaxy had finally seen Earth for what it was. Not prey, not predator, a line that should not be crossed. As the message finished circulating, a shift occurred. Exploration slowed further. Military doctrine softened. Even the most aggressive empires paused. The idea that patience could defeat power changed everything. Earth remained silent. It did not correct the message. It did not explain itself. It allowed the galaxy to draw its own conclusions. The strongest warning was already delivered, spoken in the voice of a fallen armada. The true fate of the Draconian Fleet became clear only after months of careful observation. Ships that had vanished were not destroyed in battle. They were not scattered across space as wreckage. They simply ceased to exist within the parameters of normal reality. Sensors could detect nothing, yet energy readings confirmed the mass had not been lost. It had been contained. The Draconians were alive in some sense, but unreachable, immobilized by forces they could neither understand nor escape. The Supreme Commander's last vessel drifted above Earth, powerless yet intact. Every attempt to engage engines, shields, or weapons failed. Time flowed strangely around the ship, stretching moments into hours, while systems reported normal operation. Crew members experienced disorientation, hallucinations, and memory gaps. Some spoke of seeing Earth's history unfold in flashes. Extinct species, dying oceans, human ancestors struggling through calamities. Others felt as if the planet itself was alive, observing and judging silently. No human hand touched the fleet. No attack beams cut through the void. The containment was subtle, precise, and absolute. It did not annihilate. It neutralized. Every officer on board realized that they were not being punished. They were being managed. They were no longer a threat simply because the environment would not allow it. The universe had laws even the Draconians could not challenge, and Earth had mastered them. Back on the surface, humans continued their routines as though nothing had happened. City lights flickered. Transportation moved normally. Children played. Scientists monitored the fleet from hidden stations, adjusting subtle parameters to maintain containment. Every action was deliberate yet invisible. Humanity did not need spectacle. Power was quiet, patient, and complete. Across the galaxy, the news of the Draconian disappearance spread slowly. Scholars argued. Philosophers debated. Military strategists attempted to replicate the conditions, only to fail. Energy fields, spatial distortions, temporal anomalies. Nothing could mimic the containment. Humanity had achieved something beyond conventional science, beyond brute strength. The galaxy realized that Earth's power was not measured by firepower, ships, or armies, but by control over the very rules that governed reality. Some alien races sent probes to investigate the phenomenon. Probes returned with scrambled data or none at all. Attempts to communicate with the trapped fleet failed. The Draconians, once feared across star systems, became a cautionary tale. Entire civilizations reassessed their approach to war and diplomacy. If a species could neutralize the strongest fleet without firing a shot, then assumptions about supremacy were meaningless. Inside the Draconian command ship, desperation grew. Officers attempted new calculations, seeking loopholes, weaknesses, anything to regain freedom. Every attempt failed. The environment itself seemed to resist, bending time, space, and energy around the ships. Crew members began to accept the reality they had never faced before: defeat without violence, capture without contact, existence without freedom. It was a lesson far harsher than annihilation. Humans, however, did not celebrate. There were no ceremonies, no speeches, no monuments. The councils maintained operations quietly. Every adjustment of the containment systems was logged meticulously. Earth's leaders understood that their power was only as strong as their restraint. They did not erase the fleet out of vengeance. They neutralized it to protect the planet and maintain balance. It was not cruelty. It was survival. The containment of the Draconian Fleet became a turning point in galactic history. Other species revised doctrines, treaties, and exploration strategies. No one dared approach Earth carelessly. The memory of a vanished fleet served as both warning and guide. Humanity had acted once, and now the universe watched carefully, learning lessons from a species that refused to be underestimated. Even as centuries passed, the Draconian Fleet remained in stasis, unreachable and silent. Humanity continued to develop quietly, always watching, always patient. No one on Earth sought revenge, conquest, or fame. The lesson was simple: true power does not roar. It waits. And from that quiet patience, the galaxy learned to respect the one species that could disappear fleets without a single battle. When Earth finally spoke to the galaxy, it did so not with weapons, not with fleets, and not with arrogance. The message was simple, deliberate, and calm. It traveled through secure channels, reaching every major civilization, yet it carried no threat. We do not conquer. We protect our home. The transmission began. The words were measured, unassuming, yet carried the weight of centuries of survival and preparation. The galaxy paused. Few had ever heard a species speak with such quiet authority. The message continued, explaining humanity's approach to conflict. It did not boast of the Draconian Fleet or the methods used to neutralize it. Instead, it described the principles behind Earth's decisions: patience, observation, and restraint. The humans emphasized that power without wisdom was meaningless, and that survival required foresight, not domination. Every sentence reflected the careful design of a species that had endured countless disasters and emerged stronger. Alien scholars, listening from distant systems, were stunned. Entire fleets had vanished without leaving a trace, yet humanity did not claim victory. Instead, it offered a warning. "Do not test our silence again," the message concluded. The tone was neither aggressive nor weak. It was a simple truth: underestimate us at your own peril. The galaxy realized for the first time that humanity had never needed to prove its strength. Its restraint had been its greatest weapon. Across the galaxy, reactions varied. Some species experienced relief, recognizing that Earth had no desire for conquest. Others experienced fear, understanding that humanity's patience was not weakness. Military leaders recalculated strategies. Diplomats reconsidered treaties. Scholars wrote papers that attempted to decode the philosophy behind humanity's actions. No one had ever encountered a civilization that could neutralize a dominant force without firing a single shot, then speak calmly afterward. In the hidden halls beneath Earth cities, councils monitored the galaxy's reaction. No celebration was needed. No speeches were made. Humanity's work was not to dominate, but to endure. The planet remained outwardly normal. Daily life continued. Children played. Markets opened and closed. Scientists returned to their research. The public remained unaware of the full scale of events unfolding in the stars above. This ordinariness was the final layer of defense. The galaxy could fear or respect Earth, but it could not provoke it without consequence. Messages from elder races confirmed what humans already knew. Earth's silence had been deliberate. Its patience was measured. Every disaster, every war, Every near-extinction event in human history had prepared the species for this moment. Earth's leaders understood that survival was not about defeating others. It was about managing threats before they could become real. By remaining calm, observing, and acting with precision, humanity had ensured the planet's continued existence. Some alien races attempted to challenge the message. They tested probes near Earth's orbit, hoping to provoke a reaction. Each attempt failed. Systems failed, probes vanished, and calculations became meaningless. It became clear that Earth's influence extended beyond conventional physics. The planet itself, guided by human strategy, had become a living boundary in the galaxy. Any attempt to cross it without permission carried consequences beyond comprehension. The message was more than a warning. It was a lesson. Civilizations began to reevaluate what true power meant. It was not size, not fleet strength, and not advanced weapons. True power was patience, foresight, and the ability to survive where others would fail. Humanity had demonstrated this without fanfare, without boasting, and without violence. Its restraint forced the galaxy to listen, to respect, and to reconsider long-held assumptions about dominance and strength. As centuries passed, Earth maintained its policies. The planet did not seek fame, allies, or expansion. It quietly monitored the stars, prepared for threats, and allowed the galaxy to adapt to the new understanding of power. The Draconian Fleet became a legend, not of defeat, but of containment by a civilization that refused to fight unnecessarily. Humanity's words continued to echo across systems. We do not conquer. We protect our home. The final realization settled across the galaxy. Humanity was no ordinary species. It had survived disasters that would have destroyed others. It had neutralized empires without firing a shot. It had spoken once, and its words carried authority beyond violence. The universe had learned the ultimate lesson. Strength did not roar. It waited. It observed. And when necessary, it acted with precision that none could resist. Humanity had not only survived, it had redefined what survival and power meant for every civilization in the stars. The galaxy had changed forever, though most civilizations would never admit it openly. Entire fleets and empires had adjusted their strategies quietly, redrawing borders, delaying expansion, and reconsidering what it meant to confront a species capable of neutralizing the mightiest armada without firing a shot. Earth had not sought attention, yet its silence and patience commanded respect. Across light years, whispered warnings spread among traders, explorers, and military leaders. Underestimate this world at your own peril. On Earth, life remained ordinary. Children ran through parks, markets opened as usual, and cities glowed softly at night. Governments operated in routine patterns. Scientists observed the stars, tweaking hidden defenses and monitoring distant systems. Humanity's true work was invisible. The planet itself was the shield, the fleet, and the sentinel all in one. Those who looked carefully might notice subtle anomalies in space near Earth, but nothing that screamed of power. To outsiders, the planet appeared peaceful, vulnerable even. That was by design. Deep beneath the surface, councils gathered in quiet chambers, reviewing data from every orbiting probe and distant observation post. The Draconian Fleet had been contained, neutralized, and studied. The mechanisms behind the fleet's disappearance were not a product of chance. Humanity had built layers of control over decades and centuries, learning from countless near-extinction events. Every step in human history had led to this moment, a species capable of survival not through conquest, but through strategy, patience, and understanding. Ancient races across the galaxy began to pass down the story of Earth, though details were often censored or softened. The narrative was clear: a planet that could erase fleets without combat, a species that spoke once and forced the universe to listen, a civilization that did not need to dominate to command respect. Myths and legends grew, painting Earth as a boundary world, a living testament to restraint and calculated patience. Scholars debated endlessly whether humans had simply stumbled upon cosmic phenomena, or whether their evolution had been guided by something greater. Trade guilds and explorers adjusted their routes further, avoiding regions near Earth's system. Military fleets operated cautiously, relying on sensors and distant observation before advancing into new sectors. Diplomats included subtle warnings in treaties and communications. Do not provoke the humans. Do not test their patience. These were unspoken truths recognized across star systems. No species dared to approach without understanding the consequences. Even in distant, younger civilizations, fear and respect intertwined. Students in academies studied the records of the Draconian Fleet, piecing together fragments of transmissions, distorted signals, and historical data. They tried to replicate humanity's strategies, to understand how a quiet planet could control so much. Yet the more they studied, the clearer it became that Earth's strength was not in technology alone. It was in philosophy, in patience, in the ability to endure while appearing weak. The Draconian name became a cautionary tale. Their fleets, once symbols of power and terror, were remembered not for victories, but for their disappearance. Commanders whispered about how hubris and underestimation could destroy even the mightiest forces. Entire military academies rewrote curricula based on lessons learned from the vanished armada. Humanity's methods were studied, respected, and feared, even if no one fully understood them. On Earth, the councils recorded these events meticulously, though no public recognition was ever given. Humanity did not need fame, monuments, or glory. Its goal was continuity. Survival was the measure of success, not conquest. The planet continued to rotate silently, carrying a species that had mastered time, patience, and observation. Humans walked streets unaware of how closely the universe watched them. Their daily lives, full of ordinary worries and joys, were themselves a layer of defense. The ultimate lesson of the Draconian event spread slowly, but irrevocably. Strength is not always loud. Power is not always visible. The most dangerous species may not fight openly, may not declare dominance, and may never strike unless absolutely necessary. The universe learned that patience can defeat arrogance, that observation can neutralize force, and that survival does not require conquest. And in the quiet aftermath, as centuries passed and civilizations rose and fell elsewhere, Earth remained, a small blue planet in the vast darkness of space, unassuming, ordinary, yet immeasurably strong. The galaxy whispered its truth across star systems. The strongest species does not roar. It waits. It watches. And when necessary, it acts with precision beyond comprehension. Humanity had survived, not by attacking, not by ruling, but by enduring, and in doing so, it had redefined power for every civilization in the universe. The final line echoed through history, not in broadcasts or speeches, but in the collective memory of the stars themselves. The strongest species does not need to be loud. It does not need to conquer. It simply waits, patient and unstoppable, guarding its home, teaching the universe that true strength is measured not by force, but by restraint, foresight, and the quiet confidence to endure.